People like Joe Rogan are now starting to realize that the Ukraine-Russia war was and still is incredibly preventable, and not just a simple, it's all Putin's fault. He's just so evil and he won't stop until he takes over the world. It's pretty obvious that the United States and other NATO countries' involvement with Ukraine is one of the main reasons why we have a war between them now. There's many reasons if you look on the history between the two countries, but I'm going to quickly highlight a couple. The first is the promise between then Secretary of State James Baker and Gorbachev in 1990. Promising Gorbachev that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward towards then Soviet Union and now what's considered Russia. Over the course of years, we violated that agreement by admitting countries like Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, etc. into NATO. The second thing I want to touch on is that there was a leaked phone call in 2014 between Victoria Nuland, then U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, yep, that's a mouthful, and Jeffrey Piat, the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, where they both discussed their preferences in Ukraine's political leadership, which added fuel to the fire that the U.S. was actively trying to shape the Ukraine's political direction, aka election interference. Also in 2014 were what was called the Euromaidan protests in Ukraine, fueled by the United States, with famous politicians like John McCain making an appearance. This protest ousted the pro-Russian Ukrainian president that did not sign a free trade agreement with the European Union. This made Russia annex Crimea, a state that was under Ukraine control. When Zelensky took office in 2019, he ran on the promise of ending the war in eastern Ukraine by signing the Minsk agreements. This was a war between Russian separatist groups and Ukraine in the Donbass region of Ukraine, but he ended up never signing those agreements because they required Ukraine to grant autonomy to those Russian-backed separatist regions. Russia was not happy about this because then they couldn't get political leverage by having those separatist groups, which would give Russia leverage over Ukraine's internal politics and prevent it from aligning more closely with the West. Countries like France and Germany urged Ukraine not to make concessions to Russia, so you can blame those countries too. If you take away anything that I said, obviously is very summarized, if we didn't try to bring Ukraine into NATO as agreed upon, NATO being created to safeguard the world from the Soviet Union, which now doesn't exist, so why do we need NATO anymore? We wouldn't have this war. Think of it from the perspective of China trying to take over the neighboring countries of the United States, like in Canada or Mexico. We wouldn't take it well either, and this isn't me defending Russia or Putin or anything, but we don't need to escalate things, and that's exactly what's happening. Anyways, here's what Joe Rogan had to say about this.
I feel safer knowing that Trump is in office.
I do too.
I feel great about it.
What I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out? Like, the people don't want you to be there anymore. There should be like some sort of a pause for like significant actions that could potentially start World War III. Maybe that would be a good thing that we would like to avoid from a dying former president. Mm-hmm. It's the whole thing is nuts.
I mean, look, I don't know about politics.
Zelensky says Putin is terrified. F you, man. You people. You fucking people are about to start World War III.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Russia fired a missile today.
I feel like they fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time ever. It's the first time one of those has ever been used.
That's insanity.
Fucking insanity, because those intercontinental ballistic missiles can have nukes on them. This one didn't, but if it does, the whole world changes. And it changes because of the military-industrial complex, and it changes because of the money that's going to Ukraine, and it changes because the outgoing president or whoever the fuck is actually running the country has decided to do something fucking insane. Fucking insane. And we're all sitting there watching it, and people are cheering it on. CNN was saying, like, finally. See what their headline was about Zelensky about Biden giving Zelensky the ability to use long-range missiles. U.S.-made long-range. It's not like nobody knows where they came from. It's not like nobody knows we've been funding this. It's a proxy war. The whole thing is fucking insane. It's insane. Come to the negotiation table. Sit down. Work this out. Stop killing everybody.